What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily Podcast powered by Andrade and Levine Accident Attorneys. Victory Monday here on the podcast. FCS win, whatever. It was clean. It was a blowout over Bethune-Cookman. Now getting ready for a ranked showdown with the second best team in the state of Florida, the USF Bulls. We'll talk about that game really all week, but still recapping last week, the college football world in general, a lot going on. Also going to talk Cam Ward's debut. What do we like? What are we concerned about as the Titans fall to the Denver Broncos? And going to look at some recruiting as well. While the class, we get the commitments and they get in the boat, but it's not done for them. They're still playing high school football. They're having senior year. Some guys are rising. Some guys are falling. So we'll get into some of that film with Pete. First, talk about some folks that are always rising. That's Andrade and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Andrade and Levine. Pete, hop in.
Good morning, D.
What's going on? How are you feeling?
Feeling good, man. We didn't get to catch up this weekend on air, at least, because I did the post game. You did the Sunday morning. So, there's not much to necessarily dissect from the Bethune game itself, but I know that we will. And Steve-O had a great film review. I love those up on the page. So we'll have those every single week. I know a lot of you guys have been getting into those. And then we had Lance on last week talking about the win over Notre Dame. So I'm guessing we'll have him back on hopefully this week. We got Amon tomorrow. We got Steve Kim at some point this week. So we got this weekly lineup is coming together. I think week one, we had Golick and Jess on for the opposing side. Last week, we didn't bring anyone on, maybe disrespectful to the Bethune community and fan base there. But I think we got to get a USF reporter on this week for sure. We got a lot to talk about.
Do we bring back Tito? Is he still?
I think we should, man. Tito, you know what? I don't even know why I even said anything else. Tito's the guy because Tito has the knowledge of the Canes as well. So he understands, I think, how this thing will match up. So we'll get Tito on here.
Yeah, no, big Tito fan, former CanesInSight writer, along with Peter Reeves, your protege, really. I
don't know if Tito would say. I don't know if Tito would agree to that verbiage right there. But yeah, I got a lot of love for Tito. So hopefully we can get him on this week. We got a lot of Canes win, Cam Ward debut. Got some recruiting stuff to get to. We've gotten into some of the rumors, so to speak. I know you dropped the bank over the weekend. You've dropped a lot of info recently there, but also just kind of like updating how some of these guys, their seasons have gone. So what do you want to start with here?
Let's just start with the team in general as we head into USF. So we'll do deep USF stuff over the course of the week, and we already kind of did Bethune wrap up. But just in general, man, I feel good where we're at health-wise. I think Jordan Lyle, we got a lot of questions about Jordan Lyle. He should be coming back soon. I think Trader could be back soon. I'll get more confirmation on that, but I'm not sure that's a long-term deal there with JoJo Trader. Just in general, is a healthy ball club. You got guys pressing up and getting more playing time. A Samson Okunlola on the offensive line, becoming that sixth starter. That's been a positive development. Wide receivers, guys knocking on the door. I think Dalen Upshaw has made a case for some more playing time. Ray continues to earn his spot. Looks twitchy and explosive. Tight end, we see more Luka Gilbert, more Brock Schott. Can we see Elijah Lofton more in that fullback kind of running back role, which I think is really his bread and butter. H-back. A lot to kind of look for in the offense going forward, but the fundamentals of the strong offensive line, the running game led by Mark Fletcher, and just the power element, and then Carson Beck running the show, making the plays he's supposed to make and being accurate. It's a very proven formula for success, and that's veteran, good quarterback, in this case, first-round talent quarterback, power running game, elite offensive line, dudes on the defensive line that can win one-on-one, Ruben Bain, Messidor, Blake, Justin Scott, Moten, etc., and then a secondary that has length, can run, and can play man. You look at that formula, plus you don't turn the ball over, no turnovers through 3 games. Obviously, you need to protect the ball here against USF. That's a pretty good formula in the history of college football to have success. So as long as we stay consistent to that formula and we stay healthy, I think we're going to have a pretty good shot here.
Yeah, the offense, I think it looked crisp, especially with Beck out there in the first unit. There's, we can get into some of the young guys who flashed. I was excited to see Luka Gilbert. He also had that one where it was a tough catch. He took a smack on, I think it was the 4th down. They went for it, but had a nice catch up the seam there. You see what he can do potentially down the line. But yeah, I mean, like you said, relatively healthy, right? Nothing suffered from this game. I think we got a lot of questions on certain health statuses before the game the other day. And what I said is, look, if they don't play, then obviously they're nursing something. I think that can be the case. I know Hayden Lowe, Joe Rose this morning, Mario said it could be a while there, which I got to be honest with you, I hadn't necessarily heard that one. D, I know you're privy to more stuff than I am a lot of times, but I still don't think that's something that's like going to be anything catastrophic. I'm pretty sure we'll see him here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, no, nothing catastrophic, but he was nicked up pretty, I want to say the last week of camp, even before you got to the prep for Notre Dame. He was out. Again, not catastrophic or anything like that, but he was out. So he'll be a minute, but very talented guy. His time will come. I think we're good at that position right now. Malik Bryant got a lot of playing time this past week. He played a little bit against Notre Dame. Marquise Lightfoot, different. They're more of the boundary.
Herbert Scroggins, I think, earning some playing time. D, he's someone that's been mentioned to me that, I think it was maybe when he first got here, kind of thought, is this, this might be a redshirt guy. Has some weight to gain and all that, but I think he might be earning himself some time. We'll see if he gets over that 4 games played, but I think he'll get some serious reps here moving forward, especially when you get into ACC play.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And one guy, this is a different position than Lowe. Lowe's on the other side. Need Armando Blunt to get healthy. That's another guy that plays that position. That's actually ahead in the depth chart. Need to get him right. I think he should be okay. But the guy that really jumped out to me, and we talked about this yesterday, Marquise Lightfoot on that boundary side. He was so explosive, so fast. Seeing him in person, Pete, he is a different speed than a lot of these guys. I mean, he really moves like a defensive back almost, which is how much his closing speed is, the twitchiness, the change of direction. Obviously, he's 6'5", so he's got a little more length than your average defensive back. But he's somebody I think is going to make a big impact. He's got to tackle this quarterback now. This quarterback's going to be bigger than him and bigger than a lot of the defenders on the team. But I think he's going to be a major, major factor going forward as we watch this team. I want to ask a question, Pete. We always talk drafts. So 2 weeks in, I want to talk about this because this is an interesting conversation to me, which is TJ Preble says, I haven't seen a QB in the country that'll get drafted before Beck this draft. So
I was thinking about it this weekend too. I think there's still a lot of tests ahead. Maybe not, looking at the way the Florida defense looked the other night, but we'll get into that, I'm sure, at a certain point as well. But no, you need to continue to see these clean performances. I can't really take anything from what we saw against Bethune, other than that's what he's supposed to do against Bethune with the talent and protection that he has in front of him. I think as this season continues to build here, if you see what you've seen from up front and then the surrounding cast, that, hey, you still want to see some explosiveness from that group, and you want to, which I think a guy like CJ Daniels, as my new setup here is falling behind me, but you've had some stuff early on from the receivers group that you can be very, very confident and excited about, right? You want to continue to build on that. And look, we'll get into Cam Ward's situation here in a little bit. I'll tell you what, playing quarterback for Mario Cristobal ain't too half bad with what he provides around you, as we saw what happened yesterday with Cam, and I think early on here what we've seen with Beck.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting evaluation with Beck. I think part of it is, he's a different kind of personality. He's saying in interviews that he fell out of love with football. So he got emotional. Those things for me personally, I like, right? But if you're talking about a NFL GM, that kind of candor, sometimes you've been in that process, people can take it the wrong way sometimes. So maybe be like, oh, this guy fell out of love with football. What if we have a tough time? We're first round team. Maybe our team's not that good. Is he going to stay with it when things aren't going well for us? It's a professional environment. There's a lot of criticism, whatever. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm saying
1 year can change a lot in that narrative, though, because the word on Cam Ward was not great coming into Miami either. Like from the outside, he didn't have the same scrutiny, D, because he wasn't at Georgia. But you heard a lot of the stuff. You talked to some of the people that I talked to in terms of the NFL. Like there was a lot of questions. I don't think he left Washington State. Like, yeah, he left them. So that's, but it's not like they had great things to say about him coming out of there.
No,
so
and
he had a lot to change the narrative around him when he came to Miami as well.
100%. Georgia's going to have to say what they say about Beck, but the truth is, I think Miami's staff is very happy with Beck. I think the players are very happy with Beck. The people in the building are very happy with Beck from a personal standpoint. Forget the player on the field. And then, did Georgia really make the right decision? That's up for debate. I didn't think they looked good at all this past weekend against Austin Peay. Gunnar Stockton, to me, is extremely average. I think they made a bad decision going with him. I think Kirby is kind of feeling himself a little too much. He's had so much success, probably the best coach in college or one of the best coaches in college. So he has a certain amount of pride. I think that pride hurt him in this scenario because he said, all right, I can just get another Stetson Bennett, forgetting that, first of all, Stetson Bennett had some playmaking ability. Number two, you had Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, a bunch of other guys that you don't have now. So I think Georgia made a mistake going with Gunnar Stockton over Carson Beck. I think they'll find out over time how bad that mistake was. But that's something to consider with this whole process. Looking at some of the other names. So Beck has been phenomenal through 2 games. One game, really just FCS game. The other one, a very tough defense, great secondary. You've seen the same kind of player. Stands tall in the pocket, good size, big lower body, quick release, strong arm. Yeah, he's really, really throwing it with accuracy. You're not seeing a lot of missed time throws. He's throwing it off platform a little bit. Had a nice throw to Malachi Toney last game off platform. Of course, the 2 touchdowns against Notre Dame, the first one being a really, really good throw. So Beck is showing a lot of just experience as a 23-year-old who started a ton of games, and the tool set is there. You look at some of his competition for that first overall pick. I've seen Arch Manning in those lists. I think you can probably move him off those lists. He's going to stay, and he needs to get stronger or healthier too. He's like grimacing when he throws. I don't know if did you see that when Arch Manning was grimacing when he was throwing the passes?
Yeah.
So, that's a guy that I think probably stays. Okay. Lightweight is not eligible, and he's not playing well anyways. Other names that you've heard at that spot, K. Klubnik has not played well in big games, and I think the big question I have with Klubnik is I just don't think he's that talented. I think he's a backup, kind of physical profile, good college player, but for pro, I just don't think he has the physical skill set to move up, especially when the team's not playing lights out. So I think Klubnik, you could move him down the board. Lenore Sellers, to me, the most talented of all these guys, the guy that jumps out from a skill set standpoint. I don't know if you saw any of the game against South Carolina State. I watched highlights. We were going live at that time, but 11-19, 128 yards, 1 touchdown, 19.9 QBR in that game. Didn't run the ball particularly well. Kind of a workman-like win over South Carolina State. Not the best performance for Lenore Sellers, and he didn't play out of this world against Virginia Tech either. So some up and down play. He's missing a lot of throws. Very talented, but he's missing a lot of throws. And then you go to Garrett Nussmeier, who's, to me, very similar to Beck from a just kind of profile standpoint in terms of being that veteran player who's played SEC games. Beck has more experience than Nussmeier. Nussmeier was Jaden Daniels' backup for a couple of years. But you look at their numbers in the SEC, very similar. Beck actually probably better when you include his 2023 season. Nussmeier plays well against Clemson, plays much worse against Louisiana Tech, only 23-7. It's amazing seeing these great teams struggle with these very average opponents. 26-41, 237 yards, a touchdown, a pick. So nothing crazy there from Nussmeier. It's not going to make or break him, but I think when you put Nussmeier and Beck side to side, if I'm making the case for Beck, I say everything that Nussmeier does from a mental standpoint, from an experience standpoint, from an accuracy standpoint, Beck does. And then Beck is also, and they both have quick triggers, but then Beck also is bigger, right? Just more talented, better arm, in my opinion, than Nussmeier. Nussmeier's sneaky small. He's like 200 something, like I think he might be under 210 pounds. And he's not the tallest guy. So I think Beck's size gives him a distinct advantage over Nussmeier when you stack them side by side. So that is something to watch going forward. John Mateer probably needs another year in my view, but very talented guy, runs around, big legs, made some very great plays against Michigan, also threw the ball in harm's way a few times. What do you think about Mateer? Did you get to see that game, Pete?
Yeah, I like Mateer. I think that right now it's still more of a college style of play, if that makes sense. Like I still think there's questions as to how it's gonna translate. He's one of those guys that I think the offense, which I guess you're gonna draft a quarterback that high, you're gonna gear the offense around him, but like it needs to be a certain style of offense, right? So we'll see. I would tend to agree with you, but he's going to play in a lot of big games this year. He's going to get a lot of opportunities to continue to get better and continue to prove he's that guy. So I wouldn't count him out of the conversation just because he's got some real juice to him. And same thing with Nussmeier in terms of having a lot of opportunities against big time teams. If he has big performances in those games, then I would think that that's going to be a big part of the evaluation process for them. Like I think Beck, although Ward was able to do it without a playoffs this year, I think Beck will be judged on a lot of what happens if Miami can get to that playoff and, seeing how he performs in that stage.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I think that's true. This is going to be a evaluation that goes on into the deep water here. XRP and Peony Boys, we appreciate you with your super chats. We're going to get to that in a second. So we're getting to those questions. Appreciate you, Martin from St. Kitts, repping the U on the island today. Just looking at some other names here. Drew Aller, right, is another one that we haven't talked about, that he's going to be in that mix.
We talked about him on the pregame show the other day. I think maybe late first, early second, but he's not to me a slam dunk top 10 pick.
Yeah, I just don't see a lot of he's not unathletic at all. He just doesn't I don't feel a lot of, just quickness with him. With Beck, he's a quick twitch guy, but on top of being a quick twitch guy, he's got a quick arm. He's got a quick mind, and the ball's out of there fast. I don't see that with Aller. Everything just looks kind of slow and lumbering. He's a bigger guy. Better game, yes, Saturday than we've seen. Obviously, the opponent wasn't great with FIU, but he did make some plays. So, he's okay, right? I don't know. I'm not ready to put him over Beck. I think he just the quick reads and the quick arm of Beck would give him an advantage, in my opinion. But we'll see how that one. I think it's kind of like what you said about Beck, Pete. That's an evaluation that goes into the playoffs and see how he plays there. Sam Levitt, he could go pro. He could stay. If I were him, I'd probably stay another year, but he has a pretty good arm. Lost to Mississippi State this past weekend. Wasn't necessarily his fault. Talon Green out of Arkansas, pretty talented guy. I think he could be like a sneaky guy that people don't talk about. And then they're like, wait a minute, Talon Green, who was like Shuck? Remember Shuck? Really, we were the ones talking about him as a big time guy last year, prepping for the game. We said this guy's as good as guys at, Alabama or Texas or these big time schools, and turned out to be a really good player and a second round pick. I could see Talon Green from Arkansas being that guy, 6'6", 224. He can run. 6 touchdowns in his opener. Obviously, overmatched opponent. Really, they haven't played anybody yet.
Third in QBR nationally, as Johnny Lagoon points out.
Yeah, so that would be my sneaky name right there, is Talon Green. I could just see him, in November, December, people are saying, hey, this guy's a great prospect, and we haven't even thought about him. Fernando Mendoza, who we know hasn't played anybody yet, looks pretty good at Indiana, but time will tell. I don't know. Those are the names in the mix. Sawyer Robertson, I think, has some fans, but Sawyer Robertson also.
Yeah, he looks good.
System's a little wonky. He's a little inconsistent. Older guy, which will help him. He's got size. He's got athleticism, but I'm not sure, he is going to be a top player, given the Baylor quarterbacks typically bust. I know different scheme, all that, but he's going to have to deal with that stigma. And just the inconsistency that he plays with was inconsistent to me against Auburn. He'll put up good numbers, though, and he's big and pretty athletic. I don't know, Pete. Of all those guys I've listed, who would you put as the favorite to be the number 1 overall pick or number 1 quarterback picked?
I mean, probably Nussmeier still.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Beck can be that guy, and I think he should be in that right there in that conversation. I'm just understanding how this stuff works. I still think through two games, I don't know that Beck, like talking about if the draft was right now today, right? But Beck would be a first round pick.
I think
no
so.
question.
He might have been picked pretty high
question.
last time, even with the injury. When you look at some of the guys that got picked, like the way
Sellers, Sellers, as Johnny says, would probably still be just based on the tools.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to leave.
He doesn't have to leave, but
he can get a big. I mean, I hope he does because we play him next year. So I hope he leaves, but he does not have to leave. So we'll see. Yeah, I would agree. Sellers is going to be is someone that gets a lot of attention. He has a lot of good tape already. Man, my sleeper is that Taylon Green. I could just see his name popping up. Right, he plays one good game against SEC competition. I could just see his name popping up. But Beck is doing, I think, what he needs to do to have a chance to be a very high pick. And as a Miami Hurricane fan, couldn't be happier with what we have under center.
Indeed. Well, I want to take this one question real quick. And then we can move on to the next thing. But Vaughn says we agree that Lagway is overrated, right? And I'm actually going to go the opposite of what most people would say here. I don't think he's overrated. I think it's almost in a sense like what has happened with Arch Manning, where the outside has created a lot of stuff. I don't think Lagway was very consistent last year, but the electric throws, his ability to move. I don't think he's healthy right now. From what you see him with the sleeve on his calf. I think you see him moving around there. He looks a bit heavy to me right now. D. I think we were talking about it the other day. He's 250, listed at 250. Like, I don't know that he needs to be that big, but I think he's a tremendous talent. I think the play calling is horrendous. I've said that for a while. I just don't think Napier's a good play caller. And you're excited about the young pieces around him from the receiver standpoint, but the O-line to me is still not very good. And you bring in the 78th ranked portal class in the country. So as a whole, they really didn't, I don't think, make this roster much better from what it was, as we've said. So I'm not so much on the Lagway hate train. I think he's legit, D, and I think in the right situation, he would flourish. I still do. Now, again, it's not like the kid is out there saying, hey, I'm the best quarterback in the world and all that. Like, he's not bringing that. I think people kind of overestimated, though, based on the end of the season there for the Gators. When you look at some of those games they won, and he had some really nice flash plays, but it's not like he took those games over himself.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm still on the Lagway train. I thought he did show some inconsistency in this game, and it looked just rusty. He hadn't practiced a lot. I think you saw some of that. I wonder if he could lose a little bit of weight. Not that he's out of shape, like a Jamarcus Russell situation. The guy seems like he works really hard. That's one of the things I like about him is he seems like a pretty on-point kid compared to like an Anthony Richardson, to use a Gator quarterback example, who I never trusted, was never even good in high school. Lagway was very good in high school and I think is doing the right things, but he could probably lose some weight. Obviously needs to stay healthy. I think I've said all year, I think the Gators team is extremely overrated. I think their talent is monumentally overrated. I mean, they got some players, they can beat you. They can beat Miami on a bad day, but I don't think they have very good players. I think their players are basically a media creation for the most part. But Lagway, I think, you see the arm. I mean, the guy's arm is probably the best in the country, I would say.
He did miss some throws the other day, too. So I don't want to there were some throws he missed. There were some guys who were naked up the seam that he also missed. So, there's still some development for him to go. He wasn't the full-time starter for them last year. He played a lot of football last year. So it's, I'm not trying to make excuses for the guy. I'm not trying to sound like a Gator apologist here, but I think there's a lot more issues than him right now. They didn't invest in the right places, in my opinion.
They invested in high school. They were the 78th ranked portal class with a team that wasn't good in the first place. Plus, they lost 30 guys. I didn't understand their roster construction whatsoever, especially if you think Lagway's that good. You want to build around him immediately. Like we went all in to build around Ward. We went all in to build around Beck. I mean, if Lagway's what they think he is, they only have him for one more year. So his true freshmen aren't going to help you too much. I thought that was a very, very strange approach to the offseason. The coaching with Napier has been well documented, but it was abysmal in that game. And it's just a sinking ship. If they don't get it done this weekend, which I think they do have a chance to get it done, LSU is going to be missing their starting center, the kid Moore that we talked about from Virginia Tech. I believe he has a high ankle sprain. So missing a center, LSU, you can see that kind of disrupting their operation a little bit, but they have a veteran quarterback. It's in the Death Valley. We'll see how that one goes, but that's going to be Florida's chance. If Florida doesn't win that one, they're going to be in some tough straits with everything they got coming up, including the Miami Hurricanes. But overall, interesting quarterback landscape right now. I think it's still very much unsettled, but Beck, with a couple good games, starting with a game against a ranked opponent here in USF, I think could be right there in the mix for that number one quarterback selected.
Well, you know who's in the mix for the number one Wagyu beef in the country? Lomello's Meat Market. Guys, this is the best in the business. It's local here in Miami, 98th and US 1. You get the Australian Wagyu, the American Wagyu, the Japanese Wagyu. You get the prime beef. So this isn't just steaks. You get all the different types of cuts of steak. Skirt steak. You see the Denver here, which is my personal I don't know. The skirt steak actually probably is my personal favorite, but the Denver is unbelievable. And then you get the burgers, the sausages, everything. Promo code CIS10 for nationwide shipping. So if you aren't local here in Miami, check it out, lomellos.com. This is what Mario orders for the recruits on campus. This is what the 5 stars are eating, guys, when they come and visit Coral Gables. So check them out, lomellos.com.
Yeah, and I got you mentioned the Columbus-owned business, right? That's Lamello's. I got to go with a Belen-owned business, and that is Islas Canarias Express in the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion, the single best Cuban restaurant in Miami. You don't believe me? Talk to my guy, Raf Lopez. I'm guessing Rafael Lopez. I went to Islas last week due to your mentions. Appreciate you. Delicious croquetas, Cuban sandwich, and coffee. We'll be back.
Hit that Zoom button there so people can see the menu, D.
Yeah, we'll get in there
up top.
But that's blocking and tackling right there with Islas Canarias. If you get the Cuban sandwich right, if you get the croquetas right, you get the coffee right, you're in pretty good shape. But then you also have different things going on. Look at all the different types of croquetas, 7 different types. You got the OGs, the classics, bacalao, ham, mojo chicken. You get the more Spanish style jamon serrano. That's more like the actual European Spain style croqueta, which has since been refined and improved, in my opinion, in Cuba. You got the vegan one for me, and then you got all kinds of samplers if you want to spread it out. So no matter how adventurous you want to get or how simple you want to keep it, they got you covered there. Look at this right here. The pan con minuto right here, the crispy fish sandwich is outstanding. That's a classic. I always say vegan. I'm not actually vegan. I'll eat fish sometimes. I'll eat that crispy fish sandwich all day with some breaded fish. But look at all the options. You want meat right here, the cubaritos, the loaded fries, the soups, you name it, they got it at Islas Canarias Express, number one Cuban restaurant on the planet.
Clutch says he posted on their IG page that he'll be there for UF game, and the owner DM'd him. Was super nice. Shout out to John.
Yes, sir. All right, let's get to some of these super chats here because I appreciate everybody supporting. We'll just roll right through them here. Let's start with XRP.
He says defense, safety, corners, defense plus national champion. It's all we need. Get that defense right. Listen, the defenses look good, man. I think the one thing I'll say here moving forward, D, is containing these running quarterbacks. You know what Miami, we'll talk a lot about this matchup here this week, but Byron Brown, what he's going to give you for 60 minutes there in terms of a physical game, and you're going to need to gang tackle with him, right? He's not a guy who normally is down on the first tackle attempt.
No doubt. Big dude who is tough as well and has balance. I mean, he could do a lot running the ball. He's a horse, and he's gotten better since last year when we played him. He was a little banged up as well. But I think, look, the formula, just to finish XRP's question, it's veteran quarterback who can make good decisions. It's the power running game, which you saw Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, you name it. They all have that power running game. Ohio State last year, Notre Dame last year. Elite offensive line, know what that is as far as the Alabama formula for success, and really most teams' formula. Michigan, Georgia throw them in that boat as well. Ohio State. Defense, you need dudes. There's no substitute for guys that can just win one-on-one. That's your Ruben Baines. That's your Messidors, David Blay, guys like that. And then Alabama teams, Georgia teams, Michigan. Again, I'm just saying the same teams that have won championships. They can match up. Ohio State, they got man coverage corners with length and athleticism that go pretty high in the draft. I think we got some of those guys with Frederic and Lucas and some of the folks we saw the last 2 weeks. So it's a good formula. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed for success like those guys and you win a national championship, but you're at least in the right, frame. You're trying to fit the right pieces in. Let's see if we can get it to work.
Few questions here from Peony Boys. He says, when are we going to open up the playbook? Also, how many draft picks do you think we have on defense? I love this defense. So in terms of opening up the playbook, man, I think this is something we talk about every year. Like, hey, like we haven't seen what it's going to look like. I'll tell you this. Although, yes, you're only through 2 games. I think it's more about certain guys stepping up and becoming more, explosive additions to this offense. But a JoJo Trader, for example, right? Getting him right will be good to what this offense could be in terms of the ceiling. But man, I think the identity of the offense is the identity of the offense. You're going to be a power football team who has these concepts out wide that guys seem to get open, and it's been an efficient passing attack. I don't think it's going to look all too different than what we've seen, D.
Yep, I agree. I don't expect too many quirks. You'll see changes over the course, maybe some more Elijah Lofton versatility, but he's got to get healthy. He doesn't look right. Knowing how explosive
he doesn't seem like he's moving right.
No, I've seen him. I know what he can do in practice and in spurts last year in games. But he's a guy that potentially, when healthy, can give you some different options. I think we got some tricks up the sleeve, but I don't think we're going to see too much different than what we are now. It's about being efficient. It's about making good decisions. It's about running after the catching the ball, blocking what the wide receivers are doing, and of course the offensive line's doing, and running hard with our physical backs. I don't think there's going to be too much sizzle in that way. How many draft picks on defense? Let's limit it to draft eligible guys. So we'll skip the underclassmen or guys that just aren't.
Blay.
Yep.
Bain.
Yep.
Mo Toure, we'll see with the medical there. I'll put him, I think he's an NFL backer, but I don't know what's going to happen because of the knee stuff with him. So let's stick with 2 there.
Messidor,
Wesley, Messidor will probably be a later, mid to later round guy, but later probably just because of the medical history there again. So that's 3. Let's say 1 of Wesley and Mo Toure.
Yeah,
that's 4. And then in terms of the secondary,
a lot of guys that aren't really eligible.
Yeah.
Or like a Poiser's a redshirt sophomore. I don't know if he'll go anywhere.
Moten's got some athleticism at that size. He can, if he shows some consistency, and it's not really a getting drafted at D tackle is it's not a position of production. So if he tests well, he could get drafted. Let's say 4 to 5 right now.
Yeah, Moten, I think with his ability to rush the passer, he had good film against Notre Dame, which is, how this is, Pete. The people pop in 3 tapes. One of them for sure is going to be Notre Dame because of their offensive line tradition and all that. So, yeah, if you pop in that Notre Dame tape, obviously Ruben Bain goes first round off that tape. Messidor probably gets drafted off that tape with his new weight, assuming he can test well and the medical goes well. But someone like Moten, I think for sure, his ability to rush from the inside, highly valued commodity, I could see that being something that gets attention from NFL scouts.
Our boy Clutch just wanted to note that he said, I guess the Gator O-line wasn't top 10. Who knew, LOL.
Yeah, we'll find out more this weekend, right? They're going to go against their old buddy Jack Pyburn, who was on the Gators last year. Patrick Payton from FSU looked good the opening week. They also brought in a bunch of defensive tackles, including a guy from USF who's a really good player. Harold Perkins rushed the passer. How do you see that game going, Pete? Because I think the Gators are going to give it their best shot, obviously, going into Death Valley, coming off a loss.
I think LSU wins by 14 to 20. I'm not a believer. I wasn't surprised with what happened. I mean, I took USF plus 18.5 before the game. Like that's, yeah. I mean, I'm not big on Florida. And I say that also saying that I think Miami beats USF handily also, as I was telling you all weekend, as well with that's just how I feel. And I'm not always the most confident person, but I just like that matchup for Miami. I think Byron, if Miami tackles, not to get too much into this now, but if Miami tackles and does what they're supposed to do on the perimeter, because I just don't see the downfield passing threat from a Byron Brown. He can hit a couple of, if there's a breakdown of communication, you catch him on the RPO, you catch someone on a play action, eyes in the backfield, that can happen. But in terms of just lining it up, and if you get them into these 3rd and long situations, I feel very good. Feel very, very good about Miami's chances here.
Yep, I agree.
To win easily.
There's a reason why we're a 17-point favorite. I've seen 16 up to 18. So there's a reason why you're seeing those lines for a ranked matchup.
I like this question here from Bobby, as we are, last super chat question to get to here. And it's right up our alley, as we are the Tamperers, I'll call us. And he says, who are the top 3 players on Florida's roster we have roots with from the high school recruiting trail that we would want if their season continues to implode and there's a mass exodus in the portal? Ben Hanks.
Yep.
For me, Vernell Brown looks awesome. Vernell Brown looks awesome. He seems like the type of guy who'll stay around there. I just think he has roots there, and he's a foundational player. I don't see them letting him go. I think I see him as a guy, they kind of give him whatever he wants, and I think he deserves that. He's darn good. And then, yeah, who else would you say, D?
DJ Lagway.
Lagway, yeah. I mean, I guess the question was, yeah, I mean, I would take him for sure. I was trying to think of guys we had like ties with when was roots. Lagway, I think that goes without saying. I would take him. Yeah,
I don't think there's roots there, but I do think I could see a world where, he's very tied to Napier. So like Napier leaving, he might be like, screw this. Now, if they fired Napier, I could see them bringing in a guy like a Jed Fish, who has a quarterback background. He's a UF grad.
Or a Lane Kiffin.
So
that's what our boy McMurphy has said since in the last year would be Florida's next coach.
Yeah, by the way, I appreciate you, Bobby T, for this, for your support. Yeah, that'd be an interesting name. If you're Lane Kiffin, I mean, I don't know. Does UF give you a much better shot than Ole Miss? He's had good rosters at Ole Miss. They pay for transfers. UF's transfers stink.
Yeah, but I mean, I kind of said the same thing to McMurphy last year when we talked about it. But he is adamant that Florida will have a better financial package for him than Ole Miss does.
All right, well, that money talks. We'll see how that one plays out. But the question from PD Boys, thank you for your support again. He says, you're welcome for that Mally question week 1. It made you look like a prophet. You called Mally's production in that week 1 game to the number, I believe.
Yeah, all 3 it was. I said my guess was 6 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown. He had 6 catches, 82, and a touchdown. So it was pretty tight there. I feel darn good about saying him and CJ Daniels would be the top 2 receivers. That's been true to form here the first couple games. Not that it was too crazy of a prediction.
Question about CJ Daniels. Maybe I can find it. Asking if CJ Daniels from TJ is an NFL player. It'll just depend on kind of the movement stuff and how he runs. I think mentally he's an NFL player. Hands-wise, he's an NFL player. Catching the ball away from the frame, he's an NFL player. And just the whole the way he approaches the game, I think the question with him is just going to be basically that speed and explosiveness, really.
He's moving well now early in the season, it looks like. So,
yeah, man, you hope that continues. He's been everything you wanted and more, I think. And, between him and Malachi, he just sets a great tone. He blocked like an animal. That's a very, very good culture room. I think the wide receivers, credit to Kevin Beard and CJ right there at the top.
Ralph with a good suggestion on that Florida tampering question. How about LJ McCray? I know he hasn't played much this year or the first couple of years there now, but I remember when we were watching his stuff and looking at his body type as a recruit. I will take that.
Yeah, stack those body types. Canes fan, by the way, over 1,000 on. So remember to like and subscribe to the show. It says, big fan, first time dropping in. Welcome, Canes fan Duke. Any updates on JoJo? Going to celebrate with a Duffy's Tavern lunch, best in the nation. Well, thank you for setting up the spot, my friend. Although you're not lying, man. Duffy's Tavern. Remember, put that tavern in there. There's a fake Duffy's that's masquerading out there. It's like a chain, no culture, no history. Duffy's Tavern. That's the one you want to go to. Now accepting credit cards after 40 years. So they're modernizing in a lot of ways, but at the same time, they're very much classic. You go there, you see the walls, the photos on the walls, the photos on the tables. You'll see people, certainly you'll see old Canes. I always talk about pictures of Jim Kelly, Craig Erickson, Steve Walsh, guys like that working in the building, man. It's crazy. Jim Kelly went there in college, and he went there when he was already in the Hall of Fame as an older guy. When he came down for a UM game, made a point to go to Duffy's Tavern. That's how historic and good this place is. New owners, keeping the same feel, but updating things like the credit cards being accepted. Also, just incredible menu items. Duffy's Tavern, the home of the Miami Hurricanes. Stop there today. Now accepting credit cards at Duffy's Tavern. So, yeah, appreciate you, Canes fan Duke.
So you want to get into Cam Ward debut?
Hold on. There's one more thing I wanted to get to at the college level before I forget. Yeah, so let's see. A lot of CJ Bailey comments. I think CJ Bailey, we've talked about that one plenty. I was thinking, I was watching Bryce Underwood, and he could be okay. He could be good. But I don't really see a big difference between him and CJ Bailey.
Yeah, it was his first start on the road. I think he'll be really good.
Yeah, no, I'm not down on him. I'm just saying, like, watching him, he reminds all the things that you like about him. You say, okay, he's starting as a true freshman. He's mentally good. He's got a strong body. He's pretty big. He's got a weird sidearm delivery, but the ball comes out strong. He can run. I mean, he's very similar to CJ Bailey if you think about it. Just one of them is like a 5-star all everything guy, and the other one is more of a sleeper, I guess.
I think as much as we keep talking about with Bailey, like, hey, he'd be a great candidate in the portal. It kind of does get you upset when you think about that as a missed eval.
Yeah, and I will say what I did not expect with him was the speed. That is the one that surprised me. I didn't realize that he could run the way he runs.
Yeah, he's more twitched up than I thought for sure.
6'6". That's just how quick he is.
Yeah, I think that's just him being in the weight room, eating right, and doing all that, and naturally we see it coming on.
And by the way, if you guys want to celebrate with the Gator Tears, don't forget to check out the Gator Tears thread on CanesInSight. Look at this thread, man. This is insane. You just look at it. 11 million views, 86,000 posts, not views, posts. 4,276 pages, and when the Gators lose, it's the place you want to be because everybody just is ripping on the Gators and posting videos of their fans crying. That one is AI, but it could have been real. There you go. All the tweets. Devin Moore said the players were crying in the locker room following the loss. No choice but to stick together. I think that's part of their problem, not the crying. The fact that Devin Moore, they don't have very good secondary at all. I think that's one thing that really shows you that they've fallen off is that secondary stinks, in my opinion.
So that's what you wanted to get to there, D?
I forgot what I was going to get to, but let's just go to Cam Ward.
Yeah, Cam Ward obviously had a tough matchup in his first game against Broncos, which is one of the better defenses in the league. And look, I think a lot of the concerns that I had with the situation he was stepping into came to fruition week 1 here in terms of the supporting cast not being great, the offensive line not really protecting him. And look, I'll be the one to say it, man. Didn't have much winning at Washington State. 13-6 in Incarnate Word. Won 10 games with Mario Cristobal, man, and then he's now with Mario this year, and things are going south for him again. The Mario Cristobal effect is real.
I'm not going to follow you on that one. I mean, Ward is the man. I thought he played very good in this game, or at least for his where he was set up to do going on the road against a top defense.
I thought you'd be all over that setup to claim that Mario was.
But I'm never going to
for his success.
Hey, Mario helped him out tremendously. I think just like he's helping out Carson Beck tremendously. But you're never going to get me to say anything negative on Ward. I mean, this guy is a stud. And then I watched the whole game. By the way, the NFL sucks, Pete. Were you feeling the same as me on Sunday? Maybe it's because I'm a Dolphins fan and that game was so useless. But between watching the Dolphins game, watching this,
I haven't been in on American football in a while, man.
Oh yeah, you're on a whole other silly thing there with the American football. But what do you call it? Gridiron? Is that what they call it over there now? I heard they call it gridiron.
I don't know what they call it in America, man. I'm just out on it.
But NFL, man. I mean, college I thought was a great Saturday, even without a tremendous slate of games. NFL, the Baltimore Buffalo game was pretty good, but I thought overall pretty boring. But on the Cam Ward side, you look at the stats, not good. Total 28, 112 yards, 4 yards in attempts, 6 sacks, QBR 7.4. So obviously all that on the surface not looking good. But when you watch the game, man, he had so many passes dropped, and I'm talking about big time seam throws, hitting Calvin Ridley in the hands. And yeah, they came out hot because he didn't have any time. He was able to generate RPMs very fast and still deliver accurate throws. Calvin Ridley was supposed to be the veteran, highly paid guy to make Cam Ward's life easier, did not come through with 2 or 3 critical catches. You saw the meme of his dad, a big Calvin Ward, the kind of like looking like Jimmy Butler at the end of that LA Lakers game, just exhausted on the guardrail. That's a pretty good meme for the future. But
I think the biggest thing with him, D, is he's got to stay on time in this league. The sacks, the O-line is not good, but you got to get the ball out on time. And I think there's still some of that holding on to the football that we saw yesterday. And Sergio just said it. Yeah, he's got to get rid of the football. That's to me going to be the biggest learning curve for him. And there's no reason he can't do it. You still see some of the his first completion. Pressure came. He kind of eluded pressure and dumped it out to the running back. He got like 29, 30 yards on the play, but you're going to need him more of that. And he can't be punting these plays down the field the same way that he did consistently at the collegiate level.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think they made a little bit of that. And certainly when you watch his Washington State tape, that you see that on there. I think just kind of drifting backwards, his natural drift backwards. You're going to have to be better at stepping up in the pocket and all those sort of things. But some of these sacks, I mean, these were jailbreaks. I mean, like a guard gets beat, like immediately right off the snap, like things that like you could not function when you're getting beat one-on-one that quickly into the play. So I think there was a lot of that too.
I don't think the play calling helped necessarily. Like I saw one where Nick Bonito had a sack on. It was in the red zone, and he kind of Ward scrambled out one way and then tried to. He's not realizing pressure's coming from the other way, and he goes look the other way. He has someone bearing down on this way and then someone bearing down on this way, but he was holding on to the ball for 3 seconds still. So I think this will all come with time. But I'm like looking at the play. They have him rolling out the opposite direction. Like just get the ball out of his hands quick. I think it's a little bit of everything there. But again, this is what I was worried about. I don't know this is the best situation for him right now. So we'll see.
Yeah, a lot of comments about Denver and their defense, which was outstanding. Nick Bonito, how's this guy not a Cane? I know both of us were big Nick Bonito fans.
I recruited him heavily when I was in the agent business. Went out to Norman to go see him. I texted his dad Vince the other day, a fellow Columbus explorer. So congratulations to the Bonito family on that.
There you go.
Deal. But Miami just never recruited him. Like he would have come to Miami if we recruited that kid. 1,000%.
More of a basketball player coming up, also like a linebacker, but he's gotten a lot stronger and his athleticism is there. He can rush, he can cover a little bit for a big guy. So no, I made a post about him in high school. So I'm like, man, I know that the knock on this guy, they said he was a basketball player who was kind of soft. That was the what they said. But then when you watch him play games, he was all over the field. I remember making a post like, man, this guy's the best player on the field. What's the negative? He's athletic, he's got size. They say he's soft. I don't see it when I watch him. So that obviously didn't work out for the Canes. South Florida becoming a pass rush capital, by the way. When you talk about Brian Burns, Bonito, Greg Rousseau, the Bosa brothers.
James Houston, low-key. Had a nice play the other night for the Cowboys. Shout out to FRM product there.
Your guy, Dallas Turner, another one that's really, really good. Shamar Stewart just got drafted first round. Then Ruben Bain going to get drafted first round this year. I saw this weekend. You see Kenyatta Jackson make plays for Ohio State. Marvin Jones made a nice play, actually, for Oklahoma. R. Mason Thomas is on Oklahoma as well. There's a lot of guys. Patrick Payton for LSU. This is South Florida's a little down, but the pass rushers are definitely on the up. But sticking to Cam Ward, he had a beautiful throw to the tight end early that was dropped. That was like highlight reel throw. Couldn't come down with it. Just did not get a lot of help. The running game it seemed okay at times. Then you look at the number, 71 yards, 3.4 yards a carry. That's not going to get it done. You allowed 151 to Denver Broncos. It was weird seeing Cam so much under center, right? You see, shout out to Kellen Wiley. You see a lot of Cam Ward under center, play action, kind of slow developing stuff. One of his sacks, he got sacked right after he did the fake. It just didn't have time to do it. You think, look, I love power running. We did it last year with Cam in Miami. You saw Herbert, how much his career has benefited with Mario and now with Harbaugh when he's playing with a power running game. So I am not against that at all. Quite the contrary. But I think at some point you got to get Cam Ward catching the ball shotgun with lots of options so we can at least slow down that rush with quick passes, those shortstop passes, and just kind of get guys off him. Because when he's just dropping back playing that old Troy Aikman, North Turner offense, that's going to get him in a lot of trouble. You saw, I thought, some pretty poor play calling when he was backed up in the second before the first half ended, where he got sacked a couple times, almost got a safety, gave the ball back to the Broncos. They were able to kick a field goal. You got lucky return to kick. You matched that field goal, but that could have been just an unnecessary loss of three points. So coaching wasn't good. Supporting cast in terms of the catching the ball wasn't good. Running game was average, and the offensive line wasn't there. Other than that, great job by the Titans. And but I think Ward, if you're a Titans fan, you're not down on Ward. He looked to me like Cam Ward from a confidence standpoint of some of the throws he was making.
Yeah. And he'll have some games this year where I'm sure the other thing is like how much are they giving him in terms of being able to change things at the line and all that. So I'm sure he'll get more comfortable as this season goes on, but need to get him some help, man.
Yeah, offensive line. I mean, he could use, I'll tell you, he could use Maunoa, Ness Cooper, Markel Bell. How about Xavier Restrepo? I saw a comment up here that they knew a guy that can make some contested catches. There it is, Bernardi saying, if only the Titans had a receiver who had great hands with great chemistry with Ward. I'm not sure Restrepo is the answer, but I do think some of those plays that were not made, Restrepo finds a way to make those plays most of the time.
Well, I said it a few weeks ago when we were talking about this. It's a good situation for him because I think they're going to be so bad that you get to the midway point of the season and maybe they're like 2-8 or something like that, and you're at that point out of the playoff race, and you want to start to see, hey, do we have anything in these guys that we have in the practice squad? And then you obviously will have some injuries. So I think he will get an opportunity at some point this year, which is why for him, obviously having gone through camp with them and knowing the offense and having the relationship with Cam, it was going to be a no-brainer. But the fact that they aren't going to be very good is going to be good for him. So.
No, I agree. So let's get to we're going to talk recruiting. I want you to talk about your Discord a little bit as well. But before we get there, I want to talk about somebody who he knows the Ward family. He's a major contributor to the Canes, and that is Orchid Man, my guy, Jose Perez, Orchid Man, Florida. If you were looking for landscape artisans, not just orchids, I'm talking about the whole deal, landscape artisans, Orchid Man, Florida is your spot. They're already working with a bunch of guys from CanesInSight, which they're excited about, and we're excited about. And there's a true Canes fan, passionate about landscaping. You heard him on the show, 786-271-0332. OrchidManFlorida.com, 10% off your first service for a limited time only. Doesn't matter if your property is commercial or residential, they'll take care of all the stuff. It's not just the pretty stuff, it's the ugly stuff and the pretty stuff. Sprinkler repair, irrigation, rain gutters, hurricane prep, landscape lighting, fertilizing, tree stump grinding, tree removal, relocation, tree trimming, manicured maintenance, and all of the bells and whistles and the pretty stuff about landscaping. They cover it all. OrchidManFlorida.com. So, Pete, I know you talked about one thing you've done, which you guys, if you're not subscribed to Pete's Discord, Pete is doing a great job on Discord with the work Discord. And one of the things he's doing is you are following these recruits during their senior year and checking their film, pointing out when they have a good day when the new film comes out, and really kind of highlighting guys that are impressing as seniors, because we've seen it go both ways. We've seen guys that have not so good senior years. We've seen have guys have great senior years. Both types of players have had success, and both types of players have failed. But I think more often than not, the guy that has a great senior year usually is the one you want to bet on. So who are some of the guys, Pete, that you've been monitoring that you're like, man, I like what I'm seeing out of this guy's senior film?
Yeah, and look, this isn't always just my opinion, right? This is talking to people who are also watching the film, and are in the recruiting department and know what it's supposed to look like, right, when you're evaluating these guys. And I'll start here with and a lot of these, like I'll tell you before, but this will be just a 1 week highlight film, right? So a lot of times when we watch these clips of these highlight tapes of players, it's the whole season and you're just looking at the best stuff. And yes, these are still 1 game isolated reports, so to speak. But I'll start with Tyron Evans, a guy that you and I saw in person a couple weeks ago. Huge, 6'3.5", 215 from what I'm told, and can run. Former Tennessee commit, they flipped him. But his movement skills, man, you see him lined up in the slot here. You see him taking short passes and running after the catch with it. So look at him here. This is a big receiver. I mean, you see him moving there. Looks pretty fluid. You see, moves like a little guy right there to elude that tackler. And then you'll see some more stuff here. And then the first couple weeks for him, this was week 3 for him, but the first couple weeks he had just like 1 reception a game. Both of them were like deep touchdowns or down to the 1 yard line. But you see him here taking a quick pass, getting 15, 20 yards downfield with it. So this is a guy that I think is bouncing off of that one there. But I mean, you tell me what you think, D. This is a 1 game highlight, and you see all the different ways they're getting him the ball.
Yeah, I think the thing that jumps out, first of all, we saw this guy. Look, maybe thinking guys miss. We saw this guy in person, so we know the size is real, right? So that's not I've heard that from multiple people. We've reported it, but now when me and you saw him after the Notre Dame game on campus, big dude. I think the thing that stands out is the little man stuff for a bigger guy, meaning short area quickness, stopping and starting, making guys miss, running routes, sinking his hips, doing things that big receivers often struggle with. I'm seeing that on that film. And then you look at what he's able to do down the field. Last year, according to On3, which keeps track of all this stuff, and they got a huge database, they said he had the highest yards per catch of any wide receiver in the database. It was like 28, something crazy number like that. And he was productive. It's not like he only had like 5 catches. He had like close to 1,000 yards against pretty good competition. So I think the ability to be like a little man at that size with his cuts, with his stop start, and then still making big plays down the field and having that be his calling card. You like this guy. You watch his sophomore film. He was barely a receiver, right? I think he was moving from tight end. He just wasn't a football player yet. I don't know if he hadn't coordinated or what it was, but you watch the progression from his sophomore film to his senior film, and you could see why he's a rising player and why he has so much SEC interest. And I think he just got his 4-star from somebody. I think those things are all kind of on the horizon as opposed to somebody who's slipping as a senior.
Someone who has surprised me in a big time positive way, as Kevin points out here. He says Camden Portis is a problem. I did not know. And this is a guy, D, that when he committed last year, he was a 4-star, an early 4-star, right? It's not like he wasn't on the radar. Obviously, son of Clinton Portis. But, man, this is a 1-game clip, and he has another game that I'll pull up here in a second. But all over the field, man. Really, what I like is he's playing that true nickel spot. He's not someone who they're going to have to teach that position because it's a whole different position in today's game. You see Miami is playing with that spot, but willing tackler, plays special teams, always around the football. I mean, has had, I think there's multiple interceptions in this game. And if not, then it's the game from before this, but seems to be always around the football. Here he is again in the nickel here, but yeah, man, he's had some good looking tape to me the first few weeks.
Yeah, I agree. As a nickel, you want to see decisiveness, seeing something, trusting it, and hitting it hard. He does that. I mean, look at that play. And then he finishes with the tackle after the initial pop. So, yeah, I see a lot of very promising nickel traits from a quickness standpoint, from a diagnose standpoint, from a toughness standpoint. He does have some interceptions on his tape. Look at the change of direction there. Yeah, just a lot to like with this film as a pure nickel. I don't think he's someone that you would put as a candidate for the outside. Yeah, and he had another nice.
Yeah, I think he has another pick in the same game. Yeah, and then the game before this, he had another interception, forced fumble as well. I mean, but that's he's reading the play there. Really like this kid.
Yeah, and then you look at so I'm looking at Keontae Scott. Keontae Scott as a as a junior. So his 11th grade spring, which is basically what Portis just completed this year. He ran 22.8 in the 200, and he ran
forced fumble on special teams. They're sorry to.
No, yeah, please. No, and then a 10.94 in the. This is Keontae Scott. This is Miami's nickel who's playing incredible football for the Canes. 10.94, 22.84 in track. That was in his 11th grade year. You go to Camden Portis' 11th grade year. 10.97 on the 100, and then a 22.66 in the 200. So basically, what I'm saying is, if you look at speed verified numbers, and I like to go to track because it's verified. There's a laser. It's clocked. That you don't have to question the source of the number. Sometimes there's wind aided and stuff like that, but basically the number is a number. And he is somebody who track wise is going right alongside Keontae Scott. They're traveling together. I don't think there's a huge size difference. Keontae Scott's filled out more. Camden Portis needs to get a little bigger, but if Camden Portis continues to grow, his dad grew a ton from when he first got here to what he is now. If he can continue to get stronger and work hard in the weight room and all that kind of stuff, I think you could see a very similar player to Keontae Scott, homegrown version. And Keontae Scott is playing great football for Miami. He looks fast. He looks decisive. So he's been doing his thing.
So next one up here, who the staff is absolutely thrilled about this one, as it was a flip, but Justin Edwards, linebacker from Edgewater High School in the Orlando area. Talk about someone with some really explosive ability at the linebacker spot. This was a game from a couple weeks ago against NFL Academy, but no, he's legit, man. His speed off the edge here, he takes this guy's head off. I hope the kid's all right, but man, here he is in coverage as well, and that's what I like, man. It reminds me of Kellen Wiley's tape from last year.
Yep.
Nice diagnose and just go after it once he realizes he can get there, but he's doing it all. He had a block punt for a touchdown earlier in the season. He had a pick 6 earlier in the season as well. So you see him here. This is a weird. I don't think there was anything in this play, but he's right there. Yeah, look, they move it to this next play, but he's another one that, again, you just see the explosiveness on tape, man.
And he's verified, right? He verified 6'1", verified 4.5 speed. He jumped very high as well. I heard he's like a 99 type percentile. Yeah, he's fast.
He's got that burst, man.
Change of direction is big time. You mentioned the film before from last week, which we also watched when it came out. That was also excellent. So combine check. He looked great in spring. He's looked great for the first 2 games. They think he's going to be a 210-pound player by the time he's a freshman. Can cover, can rush, can go sideline to sideline, a striker with some knockback. A lot to like about J.J. Edwards is that modern linebacker. I know we're not going to talk Jordan Campbell now, the other linebacker that committed to Miami from Northwestern, but he's off to a really good start. More of a rush end right now. Bigger player than Edwards as far as he's already in the 210s, I think. Really good-looking player as far as that linebacker build, but similar speed, similar ability to close distance. So between Edwards and Campbell, I think you have some really, really nice linebackers that can run and hit and play the way you want to play at a playoff level with NFL potential because of their speed, which is something we haven't had enough of, that true difference-making speed and ability at linebacker.
2 more guys I want to talk about here, D. And this next one, from when I saw his tape week 1, I tweeted it out and I posted on the Discord, and then he just keeps impressing. And that's Brody Jennings. And this is an interesting one to me, D, because he's a top 300 player in the country. It's not like he's an under the radar recruit, but I don't think he's rated highly enough for what he is, knowing his size, his pedigree. Looks like he can run on tape. He's physical. He was a former Michigan commit. And I'll pull up his stuff from this week. It's almost a 4-minute highlight, but had a couple interceptions this week, plays special teams. Some of these clips I love because it's just him getting physical with the wide receiver, not even letting him off the line of scrimmage. But he seems to know how to use his size. He seems to have ball skills, which it's one thing to say a guy's a physically gifted corner, but sometimes it's like, all right, why isn't that guy playing receiver then? But look at him running the route here for the receiver, throwing him on the sideline. I love his tape. I'm going to skip forward here a little bit because it's a kick return here for him. So
yeah, he has the best. He has some of the best early tape I've seen. Again, we're all really watching the highlights, but his highlights are long and got a lot of different stuff on them. Even the weeks before, just as good as this one. Although he was awesome in this game against Jacksonville, which I think is his old school, Sandalwood. That's where his brother went. So brother Bradley Jennings, former Miami linebacker. There you see him returning kicks. I'd love to get verified stuff on him because he says he's 6'2". His brothers were big, his dad was big, so I have no reason to doubt that. He says he's runs like 4.5, 4.4. His sister runs track for Miami, so again, I have no reason to doubt that. I think he might have gotten the best of both worlds from the speed that his sister got, and then some of the linebacker stuff that his brother and dad brought to the table. But look at this. I mean, look at that play. I mean, he's coming from all the way. He had his guy basically jammed to the sidelines.
I love this angle here.
Yeah, so watch the guy on the left here. Watch the guy to the boundary, the corner to the boundary here. There you see him. I mean, he pushes this guy way out of bounds. And then look at the speed and look at the tackle. I mean, that was a touchdown-saving tackle. Still 4 yards to go. I could see why Michigan loved this guy because Michigan has guys like this that are just so instinctive, so reliable, such good tacklers. But then this guy, he also has size, speed, and he can turn his hips. You watch him playing corner.
Look at this. You can't get off these guys. And
then look at him, and then he gets right back into play. I
love this tape.
He returns kicks, which is a good sign for his athleticism. He was a receiver too when he first got there, so you could see why he gets interceptions. He changes directions well. He's not like one of these like stiff straight line kind of guys. You see him flipping his hips. You see him actually playing corner. I mean, look at this right here. Nice footwork there. No chance. This is the best tape of all the guys we have committed, I think, that I've seen. Cantwell and some of the linemen are just monsters and just the size. But in terms of what does the tape look like, the highlights at least, I think this guy has the best.
I think this is a pick.
Couldn't be covering that guy any tighter. Gets off the block, and then boom, lays the wood.
He had 2 picks in this game. I don't know where the other one. Oh, maybe it's here.
Yeah, and by the way, the other stuff, we're not going to go through all this film, but the other tapes are just as good as that. Oh, here we go.
That was just an overthrow there, but
that's fine.
He's moving with it, though, man. He's moving with it. That's a pick 6, yeah.
Yeah, this was a huge flip.
That was a good flip, man. That was a good flip.
Over 1,200 on right now.
I heard Jalen Waters had a good Kevin asking. I heard he had a big game. They did quick cut, which is where they put their tape on, is not they don't update it every week, so it's a little tougher to, but staff is very happy with him, man. That's a premier guy in this class. One more player to look at here, D.
From you, I got a couple in my pocket too.
Yeah. From my point of view here, Tyson Bacon. He's someone who 3-star recruit. I think 247 has him as like the lowest rated recruit in the class right now.
Crazy.
And they still want to add. Obviously, still need to add some bodies at defensive line. I think you're going to see some movement there. I think you could see up to like 3 more names in the class there, 2 to 3 more names on the defensive line added. But Tyson Bacon is a guy who, watching his stuff, especially from last week in Spain Park High School, has some, versatility, shows a pretty good first step here. He's number 44. And I think he's someone that they're looking at. It's tough to see it from this angle, but you'll get a zoomed in view on the next highlight here. But he's someone that in a couple years could be a rotational piece of this defensive line, number 44 right here.
Yeah, so it's going to come down to his body. I think he looks big enough. He reminds me of a couple guys, and you see him, man, boom. He's someone that, by the way, coaches in this area, I've heard people I know that know people. You've heard Cooper Bataglia say the same thing.
This was a good move. You'll see it on the Zoom here.
Yeah, who covers this area for 247. A lot of like local coaches are saying, we're calling 247 like, hey guys, you need to move this dude up because he is a big time player. He works hard. He works hard outside of like his actual practices. He works with a trainer. You see the quickness. You see the finishing ability. He's tall enough. I think it's really just about gaining the weight. But I think Brandon Dorless, RJ McIntosh, guys of that species, right, as far as the way they play and their body type, he kind of reminds me of those guys.
How much bigger is he than a Mesidor? He's probably going to be bigger than a Mesidor, but Mesidor is a tweener.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be longer than Mesidor, just a little bit longer. But yeah, Mesidor's been productive at both inside and outside. But I think with him, Mesidor looks better when he loses weight. I would say Bacon, you want to gain weight on him. Brandon Dorless, maybe it's just the fact that I think they were both 44 in high school. But if you look at Brandon Dorless in high school at Deerfield Beach, before that at Calvary Christian, he looks a lot like Bacon. Just very similar. Dorless, of course, going to Oregon. One a really good player for Mario Cristobal at Oregon. Mario Cristobal came down to Deerfield Beach to get Dorless as a 3-star from Deerfield, and he ended up being a really good player. I think it was a 4th-round pick in the NFL. So that's a type that will work. You want all of them to be 320 plus, but sometimes guys like that who can rush the passer and more importantly, really good heads on their shoulders can help you. Scott saying, played his butt up against IMG, gave Cole Jason problems, beat Pepe a few times too, is definitely targeted and game planned for by IMG. 2 more guys I want to get to, Pete, and then we'll get out of here. But watching the Dolphins offensive line was so bad that I had to decompress by watching some film from some of we'll skip the commercials here. From watching some film on these offensive line commits. I watched all of them. I thought they were all pretty good in their own way, some of them better than others, and some of them just really, really impressive. But one of the guys that I put in that really, really impressive category to me, Ben Cogden, now newly minted 4-star. We said from the moment he committed, this guy was a 4-star player from small town Ohio. I never heard of this area that he's from.
Tuscarawas.
Zorville. Yeah, Zorville. But this guy, man, he is a very, very athletic dude. 6'7". There you see him playing left tackle. Look at him pull. Boom. You see his body type. Maybe it's because he's wearing that the shorts jersey, the Ray Lewis jersey, so it makes him look even more athletic. But this is a guy, big lower body, 6'7", good bend, good flexibility. Look at the finish right there. He was a top. He placed in states as a wrestler his first year wrestling at 6'7" in Ohio. Ohio is big boy wrestling. For those of you who don't know about wrestling, there you see him pulling. I mean, he is extremely athletic. You see him playing defense as well and doing a really good job on that side. Very, very impressed with him as an athlete. And I like the body type, man. I think 2-way player, wrestler, 6'7", flexible, finisher, fluid, all the things you could easily
up to 300.
Yeah, you saw his body. I mean, the guy he's a good looking frame. He's going to be 320 something easily. Also, I want to highlight Cannon Pickett, who was playing Wildcat quarterback for his team in Tampa. Big, wide body. Guys like that had that the size to play offensive line or D tackle or whatever. When you go back and watch their highlights, they're playing Wildcat quarterback. I think of Vita Vea on the defensive side of the ball. Those guys tend to do really, really well because when you're that size and you have enough athleticism and instincts that they trust you with a Wildcat situation, you're a pretty unique dude. And I think that's one thing that I always go back and look at. All right, the linemen that made it, the players that made it to the first round, what are some things that you see when you go back and watch their tape in high school, whether they're 5-star, 2-star, whatever? Very, very, very consistent trend with those guys, those first rounders. They're scoring touchdowns in their highlights. And that doesn't mean just the receivers and the running backs. I'm talking about the D linemen are scoring touchdowns. They're playing offense. They're catching touchdowns. They're playing Wildcat. The linebackers are playing quarterback. You know, the defensive backs are taking it to the house. Guys that score touchdowns in high school that maybe aren't supposed to be scoring touchdowns, very, very good indicator. When you add the body, which Cannon Pickett has, the movement skills, I think he could be really, really good. So I want to highlight him. But last one for me, Samorian Wingo from St. Augustine, Pete. This is someone that when he committed, I gotta say, I wasn't like insane about him. I'm like, he's a good player, but is he that fast? But the more you watch this guy and the production he's had as a senior has been outstanding. He's basically balled in every single game, as you see here against Jacksonville Bulls, a really good team. JJ Sparks, Miami, the guard commits from this school. He is a really good basketball player, really good basketball highlights, smooth athlete. Then you say, all right, he's strong, which is a big factor in receivers. He can run routes. He catches the ball with his hands. He has a natural feel. Look at him adjust to the ball right there, getting interfered with, touchdown. And he just consistently produces. So a lot of things that you look to at receiver, he does that. And his senior year, every single game, I think he's over 100 yards. He's been producing consistently. There you see hands catcher, gets upfield fast, big and strong, good competition, bad competition. He plays just the same. Here you go. Run after the catch here. Hands catch, gets upfield quick. You see some of the strength stuff with him. This is a very, very interesting player, a very productive player. There you see him running in breaking route. You see how he catches it with his hands full speed? Underrated trait with wide receivers. He doesn't slow down for it. He doesn't have to body catch it. He's snatching that ball, and he's not slowing down. That is next level. Look at a nice little hitch right here. Catches the ball with his hands. Again, breaks some tackles, is standing over the guy. He's got some strength to him. This is real competition, man. Jacksonville Bulls is
I'm a big fan of his. I'm a big fan of his. D, I don't mean to move on so quickly from Samori and Wingo.
Look at that hands catch. Go ahead.
I don't mean to move on so quickly from Samori and Wingo, but I wanted to bring up a comment here that I actually told you the next morning. I said, you know what? I disagree with that take. From Kent D, he says, I saw you say Dobson lacks production last week. What DB has produced more than him? He's played against all the top wide receivers, has 3 interceptions in 9 quarters of play this season. I said I told you Saturday morning, I said Ken Dobson's looked pretty darn good this year, man.
Yeah, we talked about it off air. Yeah, shout out to Pops, man. I was telling Pete, I'm like, man, I was watching his highlights from this past week after I said that, and then some of the games from earlier this year. I'm like, yeah, I might be eating that take right there because he's picking the ball off. His size and speed was never a question. I mean, he's big. He ran 10.9, so he's got the speed.
In your defense, D, I did watch the clip back, and you were also complimentary to it. I think production is just at corner at this level too. Like it's very tough to just say, oh, he doesn't have this many interceptions, so he's not productive. I think it's tough to judge that necessarily based off high school tape when they aren't going to throw his way most of the time.
Yeah, and look, I mean, this is a moving target. Right now, he's a junior in high school. Maybe it's his last year if he reclassifies, but still a young player. And when you're a guy with a lot of ability, which he has, the size, the speed, and then you start off your junior year, like you said, with 3 INTs and 9 quarters of play, there's not much you could say other than, you clap your hands and say, this guy's a really, really talented dude. I could see why people are after him. So, Pops, I apologize. I was telling Pete.
That's how you shut the haters up, man.
I told Pete off air. I'm like, man, literally watching his highlights from the day before. I'm like, okay, I might be eating this one, but no. Shout out to him,
making this guy look bad, young Dobson. Let's go.
Hey, listen, I'm retracting. But yeah, the size, speed, and he's making plays. Corner really more than any other position to me is a traits position. So guys that are running 10.9 with his size, that alone, I think, is going to give you a chance, as opposed to maybe someone who's an early bloomer that's like 5'8", 4'5", and doesn't develop. So the fact that this guy's arrow is pointing up with his tools, I think, look, there's a reason why he's ranked high. I think it's interesting. There's kind of mixed views as far as like everybody ranks him high. Some have him really high. Some have him just normal 4-star. But I think with the production that he's had to start the year and what he did on the track, and then his size, I think you're going to see him continue to move up the ranks. So, Pops, I apologize. I was eating that one very quick. Appreciate you watching the show.
Now.
I think he was watching the show just to get after us, but we deserve it. Good job on him. And
hey, don't throw me in the mix there.
Oh yeah, me. But no, man. Good for him, and he's doing his thing.
Appreciate you, Pops.
But yeah, man, no, it's South. By the way, it's South Florida. Let's talk about this real quick before we go. I know we're running a little long, but it's Monday, man. We're having some fun. Over 1,300 on. Like and subscribe. I want to give some love to South Florida in general because we know Jeremiah Smith's the best player in the country on offense. I would say that Ruben Bain is battling Caleb Downs to be potentially the best player in the country on defense. You're seeing a lot of pass rushers. We talked about it earlier all across the country from this region. Oklahoma, both their guys are from here. LSU's got a South Florida pass rusher. Ohio State has a South Florida pass rusher, obviously Miami. So a lot of teams are getting guys from down here to get after the quarterback. Cornerback-wise, we have Xavier Lucas and O.J. Frederick doing their thing. Illinois got a bunch of South Florida defensive backs. Indiana has a bunch of South Florida defensive backs. So the Big Ten's doing that as well. Isaac Brown, what he's doing running the football, of course, our guys with Fletcher and everybody else. You're seeing, to me, South Florida starting to creep up and do their thing a little bit more. Vincent Shaver's doing a really good job for Nebraska. So you're seeing more South Florida guys make plays, both for the Hurricanes and other teams. You're seeing guys come up like, Kent Dobson, potentially reclassify. Malachi Toney, obviously for the Canes, what he's done as a true freshman. So,
and I'll say, D, like, as a Canes fan, obviously it's frustrating that the CJ Bailey recruitment wasn't like, green light from the beginning. But you also have to be happy for guys who make these decisions and they go to these schools that, quite frankly, believed in them from the start. And now they're on this platform and now they have everything, at their.
That peak goes out of there. But yeah, no, I agree with what I know. I think I know where P was getting at. These guys, there's a lot of late bloomers. There's a lot of guys that maybe didn't have all the stuff around them to do what they're capable of doing. So when they go to a school that's catered to them from a system standpoint, that they have the best strength and conditioning that they've had in their lives, and they have coaches scheming plays up for them, they flourish. Isaac Brown kind of being foremost among them. He had good coaching at Homestead, good system there, but obviously next level once he gets to the ACC.
Had some sort of security cyber hacking update that happened. I don't know what happened there.
There you go. You're clean now. Sorry, go ahead and finish your thought.
No, it is nice to see some of these guys that, yeah, you wish they would have been. I can't really fault them for not picking Miami when they weren't the first choice at the time, right? And they're going on and doing Isaac Brown, same thing at Louisville, right? So yeah, you wish they were in the orange and green, but I can't fault them, man.
No, these guys, a lot of them, maybe Jeremiah Smith. I mean, did he make the wrong decision? I mean, I wish he was here. I wish he was catching passes from Cam Ward, but obviously he's as high up as you can get, so you can't necessarily fault what he did. But obviously, we want Miami to be the best decision for those top kids, and that's part of Miami getting better and better and continuing to emerge as a top program that gives opportunities to the Malachi Tonys or the Ruben Baines of the world, which I think you're starting to see a little bit more of. Brandon asking what time's the Big League show today. That'll be should be at 1, at latest 1:30. I'll be going live with Adrian Lorenzo, former MLB exec, 2-time World Series champ, talking about the world of baseball, MLB, college, high school, international. We'll have a lot of fun talking about some teams as we head down to the home stretch. Definitely, yeah, I got to say I'm more interested in the baseball playoffs than NFL right now. NFL is letting me down aside from watching our Canes. College football, though, of course, when the Canes are good, it is must-see TV. Want to shout out the Miami Hurricane Team Store. Unbelievable event on Sunday. Recognize those two guys, Malachi Toney, CJ Daniels, Miami's top 2 wide receivers. A lot of packed house, I heard. They were great. I heard they were great with everybody. A lot of kids in attendance taking pictures with the players. There you see Jim Neer with his son at the Miami Hurricane Team Store. So remember, Miami Hurricane Team Store. Keep an eye out for those signing events. We'll promote them here online, but they got a lot of good ones. And anything you want to buy online, MiamiHTS.com or in person next to the Thesis Hotel. Promo code INSIGHT20. You get 20% off your first item.
All right, guys. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Hit that like and subscribe always, not just now.
Pound it. Pound that button.
We got a big week, man. USF top 20 matchup at the Rock. We'll be at the Lickin' also on Saturday, so stay tuned for more info about that. We got the 4:00 game, so should be a fun one, man. Appreciate everyone for watching today. Go Canes.
Go Canes.